Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into the latest edition of the AP Film Room on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube channel. Appreciate you checking it out. Appreciate you watching. If you've checked us out before, you know what we do here on the show. We break down the X's and O's, the game film, whether it's Chiefs, whether it's college film, whether it's free agency. That's what me and Caleb did last time. Nate could not join us, unfortunately, but we got the whole crew back this time. I'm the lead analyst at the site, Ron Kopp Jr., Caleb, Nate, as I just mentioned, two of our great film analysts at the site. And yeah, we broke down the two big free agency signings last time, but we're getting back into the draft this time, right, guys? I mean, it's still draft season. It is kind of, free agency does kind of like throw a wrench in it where you do kind of just want to start looking at, the Chiefs again, kind of like the team itself again, how it's built and everything. But, we got to reel it back in. It's draft season. That's what we love it here. We love it, draft season. AP Film Room. Caleb, I'll start with you, man. How you feeling? How you doing? I mean, any reaction to the Chiefs free agency period? I mean, any takes?
We talked about the big ones last week, but they've made a couple smaller moves.
Right.
They go out and they get Mike Edwards, who I wrote about, and I think he's not a starter, but he provides a certain skill set that they kind of were missing last year. And then really, they get Drew Tranquill also. I think he's going to do some interesting things, some good things for this defense, and they bring back Derek Nottie today. So, not like mind-blowing moves, but like little solid additions here and there that can kind of help, elevate the defense from where it was at last season.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there were a few signings, Nate. How are you feeling about what's been going on with the Chiefs?
The Tranquill one, I mean, I'm still like kind of thinking about it. I mean, it was just, It was odd to see the Chiefs in the first week of free agency pay real-ish money to a linebacker. I don't think anybody thought that was going to happen. And kind of makes you wonder, Drew Tranquill's been a starter for multiple years. He said, I believe he had 5 other offers, some from contenders. He chose the Chiefs, and it makes you kind of wonder, like, okay, the Chiefs obviously promised him a role in some capacity. I think it's not a great indication for Willie Gay. I think I'm going to write about that sometime next week. But it's certainly an interesting decision. I don't think I was not seeing that coming at all.
Yeah, I know. I was too. I thought linebacker was the one thing we did not have to worry about, like a legitimate player being added into the mix. Maybe some depth, maybe some veteran salary benefit kind of player. Incredible. But hey, maybe we'll do a little bonus AP Film Room. I'm not going to promise it to the people, but there are some interesting players, and you guys did break down the film for us at the site. Make sure you check out their articles. But today we're breaking down the tight ends, fellas. We're talking about the tight ends in the draft class. Obviously, I think everyone knows, pretty loaded tight end class. I think it's a tight end class to get excited about. Obviously, there's some top names that people throw out there. Michael Myers actually or Mayer's someone we're not going to be talking about tonight. But we're going to be talking about pretty much everyone else, I feel like, at the top of the class for the most part. And let me just get into it now. Let's just get into it. I'm going to be talking about Dalton Kincaid, which a lot of people, want to compare to Travis Kelce. If you look at a lot of draft experts, I wouldn't say a lot, maybe. I know specifically, the Ringers, Danny Kelly calls him Travis Kelce. And I pulled up the Luke Schoonmaker. No, I did not. That's right.
No, you're good. Okay. You're good.
So, yeah, I know, right? So, Dalton Kincaid, Utah tight end, comes in at 6'3.5", 246 at the combine. We're going to talk about wingspan, about 40th percentile, 32nd percentile arm length. Hands at 81st percentile, so he's got some big hands. So, you're talking about a guy who he didn't run at the combine, but is an athletic player, and you're going to see it in some of these clips as we're coming out here. His yak ability is something to definitely get maybe excited about. That's how he made his money at Utah. Last year he was just their top weapon, putting up a bunch of numbers for them. And that's the thing. The athleticism does come from a basketball background, right? He is someone that was not a very highly recruited football player at all. He actually only played football for one season in high school. Decided to play at the University of San Diego for football, but actually it was mostly his basketball resume that got him athletic honors. So it's something that he played at the University of San Diego, went off there, transferred to Utah, and all of a sudden he's looked at as one of the top prospects. And so you're seeing the athleticism, but let me back up here and really get into it because the thing is, you do see that he can gain momentum, gain speed as he gets up the field. I do think he has that in him. He kind of has that route pacing, right? Where, you're seeing that tempo, right? He's kind of coming off slow, kind of trying to, sell it, kind of let the linebackers, fly past him in the other way. And so he can get into that open space. But then you're also going to see, again, some yak ability where he can catch the ball and get upfield and make people, kind of miss a little bit. He has that kind of that fleet of foot. You want to say red zone, just a nice little rep of him just getting between defenders, kind of showing his hands, and just making a secure catch. But I'm going to get into kind of how he just runs his routes. These aren't even going to be catches, but it does seem like he's pretty smooth, right? He does come, I like to see this, when on the crossing route, he crosses the safety's face, in a good way, kind of giving his quarterback a window if he was to go there, instead of kind of, some tight ends will just kind of run mindlessly, down the field past that safety and not really have a chance at a route there. You're going to see here, just a nice little, kind of stutter and sit, just kind of what it is. Here you're going to see him as kind of the isolated X receiver, right? And he is going to kind of, get some separation down the field. You like to see that. That's where you kind of see the athleticism coming again, because he does get good speed once he's gets going downfield. There's no doubt about it. And some of these are just kind of, you kind of can see that he kind of sets up his routes pretty well. He attacks first inside leverage and outside, then he hits the sit route or hits the out route. So he does have a good feel for his routes. Definitely, here's a nice little stick and nod. That's the thing with where I'm not super super excited about him is he does kind of get hung up in his routes a little bit downfield. He's not the strongest dude, and I didn't honestly get much of his blocking, although there is going to be some down at the end of this clip. But you're going to see it. You're going to see the lack of strength honestly come in his downfield routes. And you're going to see actually here in the red zone too. This isn't the worst, the rep of it, but he just goes down a lot. He does go down a lot. And here you're going to actually see it the worst. It's actually the game-winning play for Florida in this game where, you just got to, as a tight end, man, you're expected to kind of shake off this kind of stuff at times, especially in the red zone. And you can't just be falling to the ground when once you shake that off. I mean, you can argue that's a flag, but you got to be able to fight through that, and be stronger through that. And that's where in the NFL, he may have to get, stronger, obviously. So, to be able to hold up in that sense. So I guess I didn't have blocking on here, but I will say just as a blocker, he can get out in space, right? He uses athleticism in space, definitely. But he's definitely not someone you want to have as your traditional your inline guy, leading your runs or someone that's going to be, helping a lot and setting the edge or even, being good on the backside of runs, holding penetration on like zone runs. He's definitely just doesn't have the weight to do that. And he was used he was even used as that at Utah as a traditional tight end a lot of times, but they just kind of lived with the fact that he couldn't really, hold up that well, and honestly in the Pac-12, you can kind of live with it a little bit, but that's Dalton Kincaid. I think he is an intriguing prospect as a receiver, but, in terms of his fit with the Chiefs, maybe you guys have some takes on this, but, I just think he's too similar to Kelsey and not as in terms of like what role he'd play in the offense, to where if they just got him, I just don't think he'd, be able to play with Kelsey at the same time a lot of times. I don't know. What do you guys think? Nate, you got any takes?
Yeah, I think you and I largely agree about that. I think Kincaid's a good prospect. I have him at tight end 3. I wish I had seen his athletic numbers. I would have been interested to see kind of what he tested in at. Real fluid player. I mean, the way he can kind of, break in out of his breaks, his route running's, pretty developed, but I think he's rather raw. And I agree about like the physicality thing. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes Kincaid multiple years to really develop a huge role in the NFL, because the NFL physicality is a lot what it was like versus Florida versus the Pac-12. It's no offense to the Pac-12. It's just a different type of athlete compared to the SEC. So definitely had some concerns. I wouldn't take him round 1 personally, but, potentially end of round 2. I think that's probably where his best range would be for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you there. I think he is a round 2 player. I don't really get the round 1 hype, and I don't really get the Travis Kelce comparison. But again, it's really hard to compare anyone to Travis Kelce. So maybe people are just, really, hey, let's just reach a little. Let's just have some fun. Caleb, any takes on him? And then if not, just go ahead, because you have a very intriguing prospect as well.
Yeah, real quick on Kincaid. I do think he is a raw prospect, but the one thing I think he does very well is he's got great hands, and I think that can kind of get overlooked a lot of the time. He catches almost everything that comes in his direction, whether, it be these contested catches, but really he doesn't have a ton of drops when you do take a look at him. But I have got another highly intriguing prospect, and I've got Darnell Washington. And obviously big man, like 6'7", 250, 6'6", 260, something like that. He's very raw prospect also, but where he has kind of gotten, a lot of attention is because of his big frame and some of the stuff that he's able to do with it, and he's not an elite route runner. He gets a lot of hype, but I don't think he's an elite route runner. He's going to rely on scheme a lot of the time to get open. You see him coming across underneath there. This is what he does. He wasn't like a giant yak machine. He wasn't like a giant, pass catching or even really a red zone threat for that matter. But what he did, he can catch. He's a big body over the middle. He's going to need some scheming up a little bit. He still needs some more development as far as his route running, and he needs some development even as far as like his vertical run blocking, his north, getting north and south in the run game. But where I think he does excel a lot at is blocking out in space. And when I'm talking about blocking out in space, you see right here, he's going against Derek Hall, and I'll stop it and I'll bring it back real quick because he's got a reach block on Derek Hall. And he starts out in motion, bottom of the screen. He's going to come over and he's coming out and he's got an angle. Now, I don't know if this was supposed to be a designed reach block by him or if he's supposed to be pinning while Broderick Jones pulls around. I kind of almost think that he's supposed to be pinning down while Jones pulls. But you see, that's Derek Hall, by the way, number 29. We've talked about him, the Chiefs. He's been a little bit on their radar, real good football player. I think that's the fun part of going through and watching all these guys film is, when you first take a look at this, you're like, well, this guy's supposed to be good run blocker because he's big. Who's this guy, stretching him out? Then you go, oh, well, that's Derek Hall. He does that to a lot of people. But really, he does a nice job of kind of reading what Hall does, and he doesn't just try to force him down or hold him. He moves his feet and keeps running with him. I don't really know what Broderick Jones is doing here because if he, just follows that massive void up to the safety, the running back McIntosh is probably going to have a chance to get an even bigger gain on the play. So some miscommunication there. You'd kind of like to have your tackle maybe make a little bit more of a heads-up play. But still, he'd like to get the pin block, but it's a really nice recovery there in space, blocking a pretty good defensive end. And that is what I think he's going to be the first few years of his career, a big blocking tight end. You see him here. He's moving out in space, and he just gets a nice little block out here against the defensive back. I'll run it back again real quick. And you can see, he lines it up well. He's got everyone playing where it needs to be, and he's going to go ahead, and he's got him sealed, and he's just overwhelms them. He overwhelms them with his size and athleticism. These tight ends blocking on the perimeter is we're starting to see more and more teams run like jet sweep looks like this, and this is a really awesome block here. He runs that guy right over, but it's becoming more and more of a valuable skill set. That's not really like a guy like Blake Bell. He's like a great inline blocker, but he's not going to be like out here making a play like this. If they're looking for a guy who they can continue to develop, this is where his value will lie in the first years of his career. And just an awesome block, just picks off the DB. He's physical. He gets out there. He can still do some things better. He's got some technique he needs to work on. And, there's just little exciting things that he does along with all that athleticism that just, get scouts and GMs excited. And I save this till the end. This isn't really who he is, but this is what gets scouts excited about him. Just him going out and being much stronger and much more athletic than a lot of the guys that he went against. I tried not to include as many of those. I tried to leave these more realistic to what he does, but he has as much potential as anyone in this class just based on his size and frame. I think with what he can do, if he can develop some good technique and run blocking, I think you've got a guy that can be like a Mercedes Lewis type for the entirety of his career. And really, you think back, the Chiefs have, since Andy Reid's been here, they've really kind of valued tight ends a lot, whether it be, Demetrius Harris and Kelsey early on, Blake Bell, and obviously Noah Gray and Jody Fortson, where he would just kind of fit into all that, I think, is he's a developmental guy who can come in and maybe fill the Blake Bell role early, but then, I think he'd be a lot better red zone target, or maybe even an eventual upgrade in the red zone to maybe Jody Fortson and Noah Gray in there. He's definitely got that size and athletic ability. He's going to be someone to keep an eye on. Someone's definitely going to take a shot on him just because of the intangibles.
Yeah, no, he's a freak of an athlete in size. He's definitely someone that you can definitely count on to, I think, hold up right away in the NFL, right? What do you think about him as just like because I feel like he showed some in space blocking, but do you feel good about him being like if he had to like take on a pass rusher one-on-one, like do you think he could, like he has the ability, like the strength and the kind of the footwork to do it, I guess? What do you think?
He definitely does. Georgia didn't really do that a ton, but there are some reps of him where he does, in some full slide protection, stand on the line. I'm not a big real fan of that. It's something the Chiefs have done a little bit in the past. But yeah, I mean, he's got the stature to where he could like provide that extra, just an extra body and pass protection if he needs to. And he's just got to work his feet though, even in run blocking and in his route running, he's so raw he just doesn't control his body as well as he could. So it's going to be a learning process with him for sure, but he's got a great set of tools to work with.
Yeah, he's an exciting guy. Nate, if you got any Darnell Washington takes, if not, you got someone that I know you're excited about.
Yeah, I'll just real quick. He's a weird player that I think he could average 300 yards a season for his career and have a 20-year NFL career. So he's just how you value that, how NFL teams will value that is kind of crazy. But I could see that being like his likeliest outcome, and still probably most teams would want him and sign him. But
yeah, I was gonna say actually, Mercedes Lewis was a great comp. That was I honestly think that's a pretty solid comp. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Guy I'm talking about today. I try hard not to, for the viewers, I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan. I try not to let that really affect my evaluation, but one of my favorite players to probably ever play at Iowa in my lifetime was tight end Sam LaPorta from Iowa. And part of it is that I just don't think Iowa treated him well. I mean, Iowa's offense has obviously been kind of a disaster for multiple years now, but anytime you turn on Sam LaPorta, you can just tell he's going to be such a good NFL player. And his game against Illinois was probably the best tight end like individual game I watched this cycle, and Iowa put up like 6 points, and no one's going to care. But Sam LaPorta was awesome in this game. This first rep here, LaPorta's going to be down here off the line of scrimmage behind his tight end. Illinois played a lot of man coverage, a lot of cover one. He's actually going to be in man coverage here against Sidney Brown, who might go in the top 100. He's a safety prospect from Illinois this year. And he's just going to run this angle route, and I have both angles of it, but he's just going to shake him out of his shoes and be able, like, he stumbles a little bit, but he's still able to gain 30, 40 yards. This is one of the first plays of the game. Here's the other angle of it. Just, the stutter up top. Sidney Brown is flying that way. He's totally taking, being aggressive. That's kind of the style of play. But the ability to just cut right inside, wide open, kind of stumbled, but the ability to kind of, still keep your balance up and keep going was rather impressive. I didn't give him enough credit at Iowa for his just level of route running. His route running was really, really good, and Iowa used him in a lot of different ways. On this play, it's third down. He's going to be in the slot here, which is something you don't see a lot from tight ends. And he's going to run this like 15-yard sail route on like third down, and he's going to generate a ton of separation with it. I have both angles of it again. Yes, he does kind of push off at the top here, but it was one arm, totally legal. And he just generates like 8 to 10 yards of separation. You'll see kind of the ability after the catch too. He's quite underrated after the catch, in my opinion. He has like legitimate wiggle. He can break tackles. He's really physical too. Like you'll see him stiff arm guys. Here's his route from number 3. You kind of see that like outside feign. Uses that outside arm as a push off, which is totally legal. And he's going to break multiple tackles here to, get inside the 5-10 yard line. Last kind of clip here. Again, he's going to be in the number 3 here. He's going to run this deep over again versus man coverage. And, you do see him kind of push off again at the top, but it's okay. It's better from this other angle here, I remember. The ability kind of like he's going to shake outside, then just feign right back inside, kind of cut it off, flatten a little bit. And yeah, he gets physical at the top, but the DB goes stumbling, the ability to keep your balance up, breaks another tackle. He's a tremendous route runner. I really believe that. I think that he's a better route runner than Dalton Kincaid. I think he can win from any type of alignment. Iowa only had 3 scholarship receivers before the season. And part of their justification was that they thought LaPorta was going to be able to play X. And I know like Iowa's offensive staff's obviously not the smartest offensive staff around, but like that's a level of trust considering they've had Noah Fant and George Kittle and TJ Hawkinson. They didn't really trust any of those other guys to potentially do that. And they were willing to potentially put him at X receiver. I have a couple of LaPorta clips here. Yes, he's on the smaller side. He's actually like the same size as Dalton Kincaid. But this catch is something you just don't see on Kincaid's film. He's going to run this dig route over the middle, And this is a really tight, like physical catch. He's going to be able to just kind of bring this in. He has really, really good hands. I think he's rather coordinated. And the last couple of years, yeah, Sam LaPorta is not a great blocker. He's undersized. He doesn't have super long arms. He's only like 245 pounds. But like, don't misconstrue him for someone that can't block at all. He can absolutely block. He's good in space, but honestly, he was not bad as like a down blocker either. He's going to work on this defensive end here. And yeah, he has shorter arms. Guys are able to get into his chest. He's not able to, but he runs his feet. He's physical. He has, obviously, coming from his background at Iowa, he has a good sense of angles and coaching and stuff like that. And I don't think Sam LaPorta is as talented as TJ Hawkinson, but I genuinely think if he had a talented quarterback, he would be going like top 15, top 20. He tested out of the roof. His film is terrific. I think he's tight end 2 in this class. I only have Michael Mayer above him. You brought up the Kincaid Travis Kelce comp earlier. If you look at the athletic testing, Sam LaPorta and Travis Kelce are rather similar. Like they almost like line up number for number. And I think there's some similarities in terms of like their positional alignments, their versatility, kind of the way they went on routes, the ability after the catch. Like they're definitely a little bit different in style, but he's one of the first tight ends I've ever said, like, I genuinely think could replace Travis Kelce. I think he's someone that is going to go to the NFL and he's going to play way better than he ever did in college. And people are going to wonder like, oh, there's another Iowa tight end, but like it was there all along. He was just done dirty by this offense. And I'm just a huge believer in him.
Well, I mean, you say, oh, there's another Iowa tight end, but I mean, they just can't stop producing them. So I think I think it's a good testament to the fact that he probably will have a good career. No, I mean, he is someone that when you shared that today in the group chat, I was the RAS comparisons, the Travis Kelce to Sam LaPorta. I mean, we got to save this man, Caleb. We got to save this man before he falls too in love. But I don't know, Caleb. You got any LaPorta takes you want to fire off?
I mean, I'm not going to do much saving. He's one of my favorite players in the entire draft cycle. Also, I mean, so when you see him out there, he doesn't have like the long arms or like the big frame. A lot of these tight ends do, but he's like vertically explosive. Nate shows that kind of contested catch ability. He can get up for being like more of a stockier guy, and he's also like more explosive in his running style after the catch. He's not a long strider, but he can like stop on a dime. He can rumble. He can make guys miss. His yak was insane. I think he's one of like the big time yak leaders in college football this season. And I think the Chiefs would be making a mistake if they passed him up at some point in this draft, just because his route running, he does all the things that they require out of tight ends in their offense.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It sounds like he could be a really good value. So, and that's the great part about the draft is finding those great values. But I don't know with those Kelce comparisons. You keep tweeting about it, Nate. It's gonna, it's gonna blow up, and he's gonna go way higher than we want him to.
What about Dallas Clark? We'll call him Dallas Clark 2.0.
Hey, another Iowa tight end, right? Or was he? I think he was Iowa. Or was he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, I'm telling you, rolling them out. So we got to bet on that. Well, another Big Ten tight end, but on another team, Luke Schoonmaker, the Michigan tight end, number 86. He came in at the combine 6'5", 251. He did have 9-inch hands, which I will say kind of show up on tape in terms of his blocking, but yeah, he's kind of an intriguing prospect. He has some movement to him. I do like how he releases into his routes. You see here is just a nice little angle route here. Not an angle route, I guess, just an in route, but kind of like his release here. The nice catch, right? The ball is behind him, kind of a bad thrown ball, and we'll get into more of that. But a nice catch there. But yeah, he has the movement ability at 6'5", 251. He ran a 4.63 40, which was, one of the faster ones, 1.59 10-yard split. And you're just kind of seeing that he has I like how he just releases. He can dip around off-ball defenders too. Here he shows his hands once he clears and gets to the window. You like to see that. But yeah, I like how he comes off the ball into his routes in terms of like, if there's a linebacker on him, he can dip smoothly without losing momentum. There's another example of that right there. Here's a good route on the post route. He doesn't get thrown to, but you see kind of that wiggle at the top of the route to create the separation. He has some of that, right? He's actually a guy that played quarterback in high school and actually played some cornerback in high school. I read. So definitely some athleticism to him. And again, you see it here coming off the ball. I like the release here again, kind of gets the hands away, right? Swipes the hand so he can get into his route, doesn't get thrown the ball, even though he absolutely should have. And then here's another one where I just like how quick he is, with that first step, right? He's gonna sell the movement to the right and then come back across on the drag. So I definitely like his releasing into his routes, downfield route running ability. I do like his rep here, how he turns it upfield right when he needs to. Honestly creates, what is decent separation. Let me back it all the way up. As he runs across the field and he has to turn it up on the wheel, after the initial play isn't there, but just a badly thrown ball, which, again, he kind of dealt with quite a bit at Michigan, unfortunately. Just not a lot of, a big explosive pass plays in Michigan's offense. But honestly, what I will say about Luke Schoonmaker is he does come and bring it in the blocking game. I do feel like he brings it in terms of he's nasty about it. He has an energy about it. You can kind of tell he likes it. He has strong hands. I will say, he comes off with a punch. You're going to see it here, and he grips really well, right? He really holds his blocks, especially on the second level with off-ball defenders. He's very good at holding his blocks. But I do think he holds up not too terribly, just on the line itself. Now, the clips I'm not going to show are some reps where he does get beat inside, which is where I think his hands kind of show up, and maybe not the longest arms or longest wingspan either. But I just think he is a little susceptible to getting beat inside. He needs to just work on, honestly, getting his first step inside. I feel like he just has a really short step when he tries to reach inside of somebody. But again, you're just seeing some good reps of him out in space. Here's another good block. He just, he brings it, right? He runs through the guy. And here's, you're going to see him, lead through on the insert block. He brings it, man. And he's 6'5", 251. I think he could still put on weight. Here you're going to see a couple times they use him the last play too. They use him out of the backfield as that kind of fullback in the pistol formation. But I do think, honestly, he could turn into a traditional Y. I think he could hold up in that way. He's just not there yet. He doesn't have the body type yet. But he's someone that I don't think was ever, meant to beef up, but I think he obviously beefed up in college to play tight end. I think he could continue to get stronger, but still has some of that movement ability and just some of that, again, the route running. I feel like he did a really good job of just dipping and hand swiping and stuff to get open. So I'm a Luke Schoonmaker fan, depending on where he goes in the draft. Any takes on him, Caleb, before you go to your guy?
Maybe he's a little similar to I kind of thought, I don't know, maybe like Evan Ingram that can block a little bit better.
Okay. Well, hey, actually, you said comparison. I found this awesome. The top mock draftable comparison for him is George Kittle. So, he has that kind of athletic profile. So there you go. But Caleb, introduce the people to your second tight end prospect.
All right. And this is a guy he's gotten a lot of attention here, and it's Tucker Kraft out of the University of South Dakota State. Big time school right there, obviously. No, but when he shows up on film, you can see a guy that's clearly playing. He's a better athlete than 99% of the guys he's playing against or with, and he just gets in that little flat route right there, and he should probably get tackled. He should probably get tackled for what? Maybe a 3 or 4 yard gain, 5 yard gain, and he comes out, puts a nice move on a guy, and he ends up turning it into a first down out there. So he's a big-time yak guy. He's got the sweet hips in space. He knows how to move. He knows how to juke. Very fluid athlete. And we'll watch it again here from the end zone views just so you can see some of that athleticism. They have to scheme him open. His quarterbacking is not the greatest. They like to kind of pound the ball up there, in the Missouri Valley Conference, so he didn't get just as many opportunities based on that. He does have a knack for finding the ball and making plays on it. And you can see him at the top of the screen there, headed towards the middle. He's going to go up and make this play on the contested catch, and then he just turns it on after he makes it and goes and scores. And his quarterback isn't even really looking over there. I don't really think he's the main read, but you're going to see quarterback wants to improvise, and this is where I think he might be and could end up being a fit for the Chiefs. He just kind of keeps the play going. He kind of knows where to find those openings in the defense. He gets it there. He goes in, scores a really impressive touchdown. We'll go back again to the end zone.
Yeah, that was. He's running through him.
He can run through some guys now. He's just his big thing though is going to be, I think he's not really a blocker. He doesn't really block well unless it's at the second level. He doesn't take too great of angles. He's definitely they play a lot of 2 tight end sets. They had another guy up there who did most of their dirty work. They saved him for all of the pass catching situations, and rightfully so. He is very good at what he does, but to be a consistent player in the NFL, he's going to have to show some major improvement in either run blocking or just blocking at that second level. I think he's a guy that can add some size to his frame, also can definitely get a little bigger, just catches the flat route there. And you see just the move to be able to get to the outside and, take away the angle from that guy, break a tackle on him there. Definitely a guy with some of the athleticism that you do need to be, you do need to have to be a capable receiving tight end in the NFL. But they just did a lot of little stuff like them. Their quarterback was fine, nothing to get like worked up about there, but he's one guy I think could maybe benefit from a more pass happy scheme. And this was just a nice play in the snow, the little run action pass. And he just makes a nice concentration play, really poor weather conditions. He took a slide after it pretty much wide open. But again, like I was saying, there's just so very few guys on the field with him that are even going to possess the same kind of athleticism that he is, that they do scheme up a lot of ways for him to get open. But you see the physical gifts also, for him to get up there and be able to run through the snow like that, I think that's impressive. Him all bundled up, also impressive. So I don't think he's a first round draft pick. I think maybe he got a little overrated at some point during the draft process. He's had some history of injuries. He'd be more of a project pick for me if he ends up in the Chiefs, because he can't really block or contribute like that day one. But he could be, a project to where maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, you would have a tight end who would be pretty capable at blocking, or not blocking. You have a receiving tight end. I just don't know if the Chiefs would be willing to wait that long.
Yeah, well, he is someone that has picked up steam for sure as the draft process has gone on. So definitely someone, you kind of saw it there. Why? I mean, he definitely has some of that raw tight end ability. Kind of after the catch, breaking tackles. That's what they wanted their tight ends. But another kind of small school tight end, right? Kind of a not as small school, right? This is still a D1 place. But what do we got, Nate?
Yeah, last guy. Zach Kuntz, the tight end from Old Dominion. I believe he was a Penn State transfer. I'm not quite sure why he transferred out of there.
Yeah.
But this to me is like, if you're a fan of Luke Musgrave, I don't know why you wouldn't take Zach Kuntz in like the 4th or 5th round, because if you look at their athletic testing, they're rather similar. And to be honest with you, I think Kuntz has better tape. I gave him a better grade than I gave Musgrave. Some of that was based off limited sample, but I think Kuntz is actually a pretty talented receiver. He's very much a Mike Gesicki type, where he's probably not an inline tight end in the NFL, although I think he can actually develop as a blocker. I think there's room for growth there, but really good route runner. The thing that kind of impressed me here, and some of these routes will show it, especially like this first one, is for a guy as big as he is, and he's like 6'7", he's rather fluid as a kind of route runner and athlete. He's going to run the sail route, and like he definitely has this guy out leverage, so he definitely should win there. But, it's a pretty fluid route. He's kind of quick in and out of his breaks. A couple of these other routes will show that, especially this one. I remember he's going to beat this like reroute from, it's either the safety or linebacker. I'll play it out because I can't remember. But he's able to kind of just feint outside and kind of run this like, corner route. And, for a guy that big, some guys might get kind of caught up trying to get around there. But he just kind of gets in and out of his breaks well, can kind of beat reroutes, ability to transition. This play I really enjoyed because he might not have like elite top end speed or anything like that, but I enjoy this catch. He makes this catch away from his frame, going to the sideline. I believe he gets both feet down. That doesn't matter in college, but that would matter in the NFL. But ability to catch away from the frame, bring it into the ground. And this kind of last clip I have here it should have been the game-winning play, but Virginia went down and scored actually right before the end of the game. But this route was just totally impressive. He's going to run this like kind of fade corner route, and he's going to shake this DB entirely and just gain a ton of separation here. It was kind of that slot fade route. I have it kind of here. He's going to get this DB to kind of just stutter and kind of lean forward. Kind of the hesitation at the top of his route is really good. Ability to kind of snap outside. And this would have been the game-winning touchdown against Virginia. And for a school like Old Dominion, that's exciting. I mentioned how I thought LaPorta's game versus Iowa was the best tight end film I've watched so far. I think Kuntz versus Virginia is number 2. He was absolutely like dominating Virginia for the entirety of that game. And kind of, bring it back to Musgrave. Like, if you like Luke Musgrave because you're like, okay, this guy's really big, he could have a really good high ceiling. I honestly thought Kuntz was the better player. I think they tested rather similarly. He clearly has pedigree because he went to Penn State. So for the Chiefs, if you're thinking like, okay, maybe we need to draft Luke Musgrave round 1, but if we wait till round 4 and draft Zach Kuntz, I think that's a better value, because if you made me put money down on who's going to be a better NFL player, I think Zach Kuntz will be a better NFL player than Luke Musgrave.
Well, he blew up the combine, so he's got film and numbers on his side. So I mean, that's always a good player to bet on is both of those things being on your side. So definitely some exciting prospects, some exciting players. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the tight end position is definitely a place the Chiefs could attack if they want to get better, in the offensive skill positions and kind of get creative with it, right? So some of these guys are guys they could target. We'll look at more prospects as we go here. This was the tight ends. I don't know what we'll look at next week. We'll have to decide. We're getting down to it. We got about a month to go. It's getting exciting here. So make sure you're following the Arrowhead Pride draft coverage, arrowheadpride.com. We got plenty of stuff for you. Plenty of articles coming out. Draft profiles soon. You'll be getting those daily. We're excited. So appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you watching. Make sure you keep with the site, and we'll catch you next time.